Okay. So yes, we can start. And let's begin. Hello everyone. So today we have, I can say maybe it's not first, but for me it's first session related to our cybersecurity club lessons. I mean, not introductory related to the education, but introductory, but just for uh, knowing each other. But today we have meeting related to our education, and we have meeting related to the Linux. So let's start. So first about us, it's me. It's not only me. It's all about us. It's Cyber Club. Cyber Club was invited in this year. Actually, it was in the previous year. We were starting to have some sessions, and that's why yes. So we can say that of Cyber Club, but today you have really first iteration. So it's about me. You can see my contacts. You can contact with me, and yes, my name. By the way, my name is Roman Tosyshev. I'm second year student. My major is information security. And let's start. So firstly, at the very beginning, I want to say that today I don't want to destroy your mind or something like this. So I don't want to, I can say, kill you, but why? What I will do on the next day, yes? So that's why we will have some lightweight meeting related to the basics of Linux and what Linux is. So firstly, main point is operation system. So what's the operation system? Operation system, it's a minimal set of programs to control computer, to interact with computer. So what's a computer? Computer is just a piece of hardware, silicon, iron, and so on. And to communicate with this stuff, you have to have some program or something like this. And for this reason, we have operation system. And maybe in the previous years, you saw it like this. So it's Windows 7, and next you will have some Windows 10, or for now we have Windows 11 even. But what about Linux? And there I want to ask question from the audience. So is there anybody who know something about Linux? So please don't raise your hand, just shut, because I cannot see your hands. So no one? No one here before about Linux? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. I guess someone raised hand and
Yes.
by the way, guys, I ask you to be so active. You can't learn anything until you ask something about, for example, OS or programming network. That's how it works. You have to ask, you have to say something. It can be wrong. Yeah, Roman will make it so clear you understand afterwards your mistakes. So, be active. You can say anything about Linux OS. Anyone who wants to say something?
Yes, just show. Do not raise hand.
Hello.
Yes.
As far as I know, Linux was created by Linus Torvalds, and mainly this operation system is used to run different servers because it's very stable.
Okay, you're absolutely right. So it's also right. Anything else? Is there any Linux users? So people who use Linux on a daily basis, like me, like Sabuhi? No? Okay. So never mind. So today that's why we're there. So to learn what's Linux, yes. As it was mentioned before, Linux was created by Linus Torvalds when he was a university student. He just wanted to have a system that will be available for everyone. So in that year, there was only one popular system for education enterprises, free operation system, Minix. But this was not so sufficient for him. That's why he decided to create own system. And at the very beginning, he just sent the source code of his operation system using email. Can you imagine this? So if you want to share something with your friends, you have to send an email. And he did the same. So also there is a mascot of Linux. It's a penguin called Tux. So you can see at the right side. And there is also one important thing. Linux is an operation system. It's not like this. Linux is a kernel of operation system. And yes, maybe when it was at the beginning, it was operation system, but today no. We have Linux kernel that is driven by a lot of operation systems. We call them Linux distributions. So that's why it's more correct to say Linux-based OS or Linux-based distribution, but it's a long word. That's why we say just install Linux. That's it. So no distribution, no Linux-based, so on. Yeah, and as I mentioned before, it was open source project, and that's why for now Linux is also open source, and we can see code of this operation system. So there is no problem. You can Google it, just Google Linux source code, and you can see it. And there is one interesting thing called open source initiative. So what's this? When people decided to have a lot of open source software, not only Linux, but for example, let me have a messenger, simple messenger, that will be open source, and everybody can see what's going on the back end of this messenger or on inside application of this messenger. That's why they decided to create this open source initiative. So everyone can see. Do you know what one of the most, how I can say, important part of this open source initiative? GitHub. Yes. Maybe there are already, we have users of GitHub there, no?
You asked if we use GitHub or not?
Yes. Does someone?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So continue, please.
The person who created Linux is also the person who created Git.
Yes, you're absolutely right, and not GitHub, but Git. Yes, yeah, also absolutely.
Yeah, Git.
Yes. So why? Because he decided he wanted to have some ecosystem that will be helpful for open source developers. So everybody can see source code. And you know why it's important to see source code? When I see what's going on the back end of my operation system, of my messenger, of anything that we have, I know where my data is going on, what's going on with my data. So maybe my operation system sent some data to the third parties. Maybe maybe my operation system records my voice every time when I saying something, and use for commercials. That's why Linus at that time even understood this part and decided to create system like Linux, kernel like Linux. Yes. And also there is one important thing in Linux. It's just we have community. So like a BHOS Cyber Club, we have the community and we support each other. So we support one another like we do in our club. So the same we have in Linux. You can if you're a GitHub user, if you're a user of any platform, you can contribute to the Linux and make it more better. However, there are some companies that think that they can, how I can say, lose their money if they publish their code. So because code is money, so they put some effort, put some money inside this code, and that's why it will be bad for them if they publish their code, and that's why they just close their code and do not show them. For example, NVIDIA did this till this year. Why? Because they think that we create video cards, yes? Why we need to publish their codes for their drivers? Why? We put effort. So, and there is some technical aspect of Linux, difference between Linux and Windows, is that Linux is a monolithic, has monolithic core, so monolithic kernel. So what does it mean? So everything inside kernel. When you install Windows, just example, when you install Windows, what you do after after your Windows installation? Of course, you download drivers for your video card, drivers for your CPU, drivers for your mouse, even, I don't know. But in Linux, we don't have to do this. Why? Because we have monolithic kernel, and everything comes with this kernel. Don't worry, you can modify it, so you can put necessary things, necessary parts to your kernel, so there is no problem with that. So, about Linux family. As I mentioned before, Linux is just a kernel, and that's why we have a great family of Linux distributions, operation systems that use Linux. So it's not possible to just download Linux and install it on your PC. No, you have to download one of that distributions. So Arch Linux, Ubuntu, and so on. We will talk about them a bit. So as I understood, there is no Linux user in our class today. Unfortunately, only me. So I
also use.
Yes. Okay. Which Linux distribution you are using?
Actually, like Ubuntu and Debian together.
Okay.
I have like Raspberry Pi. I have installed Debian-based system.
Great.
Excellent. And Ubuntu, yeah.
Excellent. So personally, I am a Ubuntu user. So Ubuntu, there is Ubuntu, but there is a Kubuntu. Kubuntu is more lightweight, and for example, for today's stream, thanks to Kubuntu, because the vast majority of my resources are allocated for stream, not for operation system itself. We don't have this in Ubuntu because Ubuntu, how I can say, it's okay. It's the beauty of Ubuntu we have, but it shouldn't cost our performance. I think it's my opinion. And in my laptop, I use Debian because I like stability. So I just installed Debian about 2 years ago, and yes, that's it. So I will not have any problems. So it's a really stable operation system for servers, yes, but not Ubuntu. Then, so let's talk about some opinions about Linux. So a lot of people think that Linux is something like this, or even like this. So, okay, is it the usual view of Linux distros? Yes, but actually no. Why? Because we have some Linux distributions mainly oriented for normal people, for people like me, like you. So we don't have we want to have some different things. I mean, different hacker themes and so on. We just want to use our computer like we do on Windows, and we have normal operation systems that, how I can say, everybody can understand them. It's like Windows, yes. Even like this we have. Yeah, it's also Linux distribution, but it's redesigned especially for Windows users. And we have family, as I mentioned before. It's a Kali. We will talk about Kali, don't worry. Ubuntu, we will also talk about it. Debian, Arch Linux, Linux Mint, Manjaro, so on. So, Ubuntu. Actually, Ubuntu is one of the Linux distributions that change the opinion about Linux. Why? Because after users touched this interface, touched the abilities that Linux give in normal in normal view, they understood that Linux is a really powerful thing. So I also recommend you to start from Ubuntu. Do not start from Kali. Do not start from, I don't know, Debian and so on. Start from Ubuntu. Why? We will, okay. We will not talk about it, but I will say it right now. Ubuntu has the best compatibility in comparison with other Linux distributions. So you will not have 99% problems that have regular Kali users or regular Debian users. Why? Because Ubuntu is a distribution that's specially oriented for normal people, and you can just install it and use it, so there will be no any problem. That's it. And it's have kind of normal, understandable view, graphic user interface, and that's why you can use it. Also, we have some browsers of Ubuntu. You can decide whatever you want. So it's Kubuntu, Xubuntu, Ubuntu Mate, and Lubuntu. So the main difference between them is that it's just interface. So you can choose your Linux. Maybe Ubuntu interface of Ubuntu will be not for you. Yes, it will be not your cup of tea, and you will decide to have some another look. Also, we have some sisters. It's Fedora. It's absolutely different Linux distribution. You can also try it. There is no problem. Pop OS. It's also very popular operation system, especially gamers use it. And Linux Mint. It's also a user-friendly Linux distribution. You can use it. Why not? Yes, some sisters. This operation system, as I mentioned before, not actually yes, but actually no. For this one, we have no, because Arch Linux, Gentoo, and Manjaro Linux, they mainly are oriented for geeks and IT enthusiasts. So you have to know Linux structure beforehand, and you have to study Linux before you will use them. So it's really very hard to use this kind of distributions. But if you can do this, remember, you will use it every day. And uncles. Why I call them uncles? Because usually server operation systems, they at the end become user-friendly, user-oriented operation systems. So we have Debian, we have Alt Linux, it's a Russian operation system. We have CentOS, and we have Oracle Linux. About the last one, not the last one, the last two ones, I can say that they mainly used in Azerbaijan. So if you want to be security engineer or even DevOps engineer in different enterprises of Azerbaijan, you have to know them. So how to work with them. It's CentOS and Oracle Linux. And yes, they are server-oriented operation systems, and they mainly used for servers. That's why you can have some problems. Then it's a different operation system. For example, we have BHOS. It's the first Azerbaijan Linux distribution, I can say. Is actually developed not only by me, but also another guy who worked on this project, and we already have community based on this Linux distribution. You can try it. Why not? Just Google BHOS. And I just added it for the fun. For example, in North Korea, the usage of Windows is prohibited. That's why you have to use their own Linux distribution called Red Star OS. Yes. So the main differences that you will have in your choice is desktop environment. So there are a lot of desktop environments like GNOME, KDE, XFCE, and so on. But the things that I want to mention, if you have good computer, you can use GNOME. If not, use any other. So you can use KDE, XFCE. They are lightweight, so for any computer they will work. And also there is some difference in package manager. So if you use Ubuntu, you will see it a lot, apt, or even aptitude. Sometimes it's it's out of date, so we will not use regular but apt. In other distributions, for example, Oracle Linux or CentOS, we will have RPM, YAM, so on. And in other, for example, in Arch Linux, we have Pacman, different story. So do not remember them. And also there are some differences in commands and shell. So in Arch Linux you can have some differences in shell commands. Software, of course, if you will use Debian, is different than we use Ubuntu. You will not have, for example, drivers for NVIDIA video card. That's why you have to install them manually. But in Ubuntu, you don't have to do this because Ubuntu is user-friendly. And release and update module. So what does it mean? How regularly you have to update your system. So for Ubuntu, it's about 2 years. Every 2 years we have new release of Ubuntu. For Debian, also 2 years. But in Arch, or if I'm not mistaken, for what's the name of the Fedora? Yes, Fedora. For now, we have also this rolling release. It means that we have some updates, and we got these updates regularly. So every day you will have new updates. About price, so you know the cost of Windows. Yes, if you don't know, Windows is not free. For example, its costs for Windows 10 and Linux distribution. Mainly Linux distributions are free. But if you want to have some support from the companies, for example, from Oracle or from Canonical, you can buy paid subscriptions, and of course you have to pay for them. Yeah, but normally you can use any. Of course, there are some paid versions, but Ubuntu, Debian, Arch, Manjaro, they're absolutely free. You can use them without any problems. And let's come to the benefits of Linux. So first of all, it's customization and tuning. So you can customize everything. So you can see this is Ubuntu. Yes, it's normal how Ubuntu looks like. Yes, but But if we will work on it, we will see a lot of differences. So you see, everything was changed. It's not only about interface. We can customize everything. Why Linux is used on servers? Not only because of stability, but because of tuning. By using one guide, you can transform your computer to the mail service, or even for client for, I don't know, RCP calls or FTP server, forever, whatever you want. So anything that you want to do, you can do in Linux. Even you can run some Windows programs. You can run, I don't know, anything. So yes, you can do pretty anything on Linux because of customization. Another thing is lightweight. So it's not about all Linux distributions actually, because as I mentioned before, for example, Ubuntu it's the same like Windows like Windows does. But in our case, for example, in Ubuntu, you see we have 4 gigabytes of RAM. 2 gigabytes inside Windows are allocated only for operation system. In contrast, in Ubuntu we have only half of gigabyte allocated for operation system. Can you imagine? So half of gigabyte, what's it? Yes, safety and security. Okay, it's commercials. Don't believe to these pictures. No antivirus or no virus. Of course, we don't have any systems that will be for 100% secure for any kind of viruses and so on. Even we can harden Windows, so we will have the same result as Linux. But there are a lot of scientific papers, a lot of experience that Linux, because of its model, because of its structure, is secure. It's a bit more secure than Windows, and even you can harden them, so you can improve security. Of course, you can do the same in Windows. We have, for example, different configurations for Windows, and there are a lot of Windows servers that are really secure. But yes, practice says that Linux is more secure. You can see the structure of Linux hierarchy. So in Windows you have disk C and disk D, yes? So that's it. But in Linux we have a bit different structure, and the only thing that you can operate with, it's your home directory. That's it, nothing more. That's why you are secured from any kind of mistakes. But of course you can kill it. You can kill your system. It's not a problem. Yes, stability. One part that was mentioned before, it's stability. So 98% of cloud servers are using Linux. Can you imagine this? Why? Because it's stable. I see that there are a lot of Windows users in the chat. So, question for audience again. Have you ever seen this picture?
Even many times.
Yes. And maybe at the... Yes, sorry, continue please.
Every day I can see.
You see? So yes, it's better. It's not a big problem that you see this working on update screen. It's not a big problem. But when you see at the end like this, something like this, or even like this, so no, it's not your computer. It's presentation. Servers will have a lot of problems, and of course we have to pay attention. It's not a problem actually of Windows itself, but yes, it's a bit problem of Windows itself. But if we have good administrators that will manage these things, of course we will not see this error updates message and thoughts blue screen of this. But it's, you see, we have to put a lot of effort for this. That's why Linux is used mainly on servers, because out of box you will have a lot of abilities. You see this classic meme from Linux users. So you can install updates normally whenever you can do it. And if we look for some point-based distributions like Ubuntu, like Debian, main updates we have only after 2 years. So each second year, we have main update of full system. Even you can stay 4 years without any updates. So yes, okay, there are some critical issues, critical updates you have to install. So you can create your own instance of Linux and use it inside Windows, inside virtual machine. No problems. So risk reduction. So you will not delete, you will not wipe anything. All your data will be saved, I believe. And okay, 99% that it will work, it will works, but of course we have this concept of 4 nines, concept of 5 nines, so we can have some cases, but where it will not work. But we can have two main problems. If your laptop or PC is not good for virtualization, for example, you have only 2 gigabytes of RAM, so you will not. I think that you will not be able to do things like this. If you have 4 gigabytes of RAM, okay, it will be a bit painful for you, but you can, but not 2. And you have to have enough space on your disk drive, so on. Also, we have to enable virtualization inside your machine, so inside your computer. In some laptops, it's not enabled by default. So you have to go to your BIOS settings or UEFI settings and turn on these things. So enable this Hyper-V virtualization manually. Even we can have a problem like experience. Apart from machine, okay, it's good. You are using virtual machine, but it's virtualization. So you will have all problems that usually have with virtual machine. Of course, it's performance things. It can be things can be related to the clipboard, so copy pasting text with resolution, with hotkeys. We can have a lot of problems with them. I mean shortcuts on your keyboard. We can have problem with resolution. I mentioned with network. Yes, with network you can have a lot of problems, especially if you are CTF lower like me. So you can have a lot of problems with networking in this part. And another thing that I also recommend you, it's a bare metal installation. What does it mean? You install your Linux like a normal operation system. Yes, it's dangerous. So there is a possibility of data deletion. There is a possibility that your installation of Linux will be not compatible with your device. So it will not compatible with your laptop. Usually we have this kind of problem with laptops. Even we have girl in my group. He bought perfect gaming laptop, excellent. But because of drivers, because of, if I'm not mistaken, it's Asus, but I do not remember who was the maintainer, who was the manufacturer of the network card in her laptop. But the main problem was that the manufacturer of network adapter in her laptop wasn't published. He just didn't publish their source codes, so no source codes available for this network card, and because of it, she can't connect to the Wi-Fi or any other network. Can you imagine these things? That's why we can have these problems. And I usually say that do not buy gaming laptops, buy normal laptop. Yes, it's my belief, so it's not for 100% true. Even without video card, so it should have integrated Intel or AMD video card. So for Linux it will be perfect. So if you have AMD processor, AMD CPU with integrated video card like Vega or so on. So no NVIDIA, and you will be happy. Also, there are some laptops like a Lenovo, special series of that laptops. For example, what's the name of that? Okay, there is a special series of laptops of Lenovo, mainly rated for system administrators. They check compatibility with Linux beforehand. Can you imagine? Okay, so about bare metal, you will have better performance. So you have full performance of your device in comparison with virtual machine. you will see it. You can really see it. If in virtual machine you can have some lags and so on. Mostly in your Linux installation inside on your laptop, normally as a second operation system or first operation system, you will not see anything. Then it's solution for big computers. So if you have some computers that has only 2 gigabytes of RAM or 2 cores or 4 cores, so you can use this one. So just install Linux as a normal operation system, not like a virtual machine instance. And real OS experience, you will use it like a normal operation system, like you're using Windows right now. It's excellent experience. And you have to deal with some problems of Linux, yes, of course. So it will be also good experience for understanding how Linux works. Okay, some conclusion at the end of the day. Yes, we have conclusion. So don't worry if you are not a Linux user. Probably you have Android smartphone. Android smartphone is a kind of Linux distribution, we can say. Also, we have macOS. It's Unix-based operation system, but the structure of the macOS is similar to the Linux. So if you're a macOS user, maybe you know some interesting things from Linux. And the last one is the future of the Windows. Yes, the recent news say that step by step, but Windows integrate Linux parts inside Windows. So we have Linux kernel delivered with Windows. Yes, it's true, especially for this WSL technology. Also, Linux, some components of Windows like a calculator and terminal, if I'm not mistaken, are already open source, so they understood it. And maybe in the future, Windows will be like a Linux. But remember, you still have to pay for it. So that's the end for this presentation. If you have any questions, okay. If you have any questions, you can ask. So there are some.
Can I ask?
Yes. Can you? You can.
I have a question related to I have a question related to installation of Linux. Like I use Linux normally use Linux in our company, like Ubuntu. But like I have a question about USB booting. What do you think about like live USBs?
Okay, excellent question. We will touch this topic. I mean installation process next, but okay. I'm not planning to show you the installation on real bare metal installation because it will be hard for this for online session. But anyway, if you mean live mode of Linux, yes, it's a good thing. So you can just download Linux distribution to your flash drive, connect to your computer, and use it like in live mode. So trial version, let's say, of Linux, yes, Ubuntu and so on. But there is some problem. Yes.
Please continue.
Yes, but you see, there is a problem when if you are not, I can say, quite enough in this topic. You don't know how to create a Linux USB drive that can store all changes that you created during this live session without installation. So it's also possible to create Linux installation medium called Linux installation medium with the saving all data that you did. Yes, produced. Yes.
Yeah, like my USB had like persistence on it, like whatever I did.
Okay.
Like my question was, VM or live USB? Like I have used both and I didn't have any problems with, but which one do you prefer? Like USB or live USB?
Actually, it's a terrible question. Why? Because when you are using Linux in this way from your flash drive, you can kill your flash drive a bit faster. So if it's not a SSD or HDD like on USB, even I cannot show you for now, but I also have this thing. So you can plug your HDD. You can buy a special HDD or SSD for that reason and use it. But if you are using normal flash drive, maybe after 6 months of this kind of usage, it will die. So unfortunately, yes.
I have one which died actually.
Yes, yes. So it will kill your flash drive faster, and that's why I will not recommend you to use Linux in that way. Use virtual machine or produce normal bare metal installation. So actually, you can see these two QR codes. You can scan them. They're good. Instance. My Ubuntu instance. Next. About memory. It's very, very important. For now, I have streaming session, yes. So it will be better for me to have 2 gigabytes maximum, because you see I have only 8 gigabytes and I don't know, maybe my system will down and so on. So for my reason, I will have 2 gigabytes. For your case, you can allocate almost half of your operation of your RAM, of your operation memory. So, for example, I have 8 gigabytes. In my case, normally, I can allocate 4 gigabytes and it will be enough, quite enough. But for today, I will do it 2 gigabytes. Next, this thing. So you see, we can create our own hard drive, or we can use existing one. And I will show you this method. There is a good site called OS boxes. And you can see there are a lot of, let it open. You can see there are a lot of ready virtual machines for your VirtualBox or for your VMware. So I just type in the Ubuntu, and you see 2204. So it's actually the latest version of Ubuntu, LTS version of Ubuntu. And yes, Ubuntu, yes, very, very important. We have Ubuntu, normal Ubuntu, and Ubuntu server. So we are normal users. So we get used to graphic user interface. That's why please use Ubuntu, not Ubuntu server. So I select Ubuntu, and as you can see, we can download it. Yes, simply press on this button and downloading will start. So that's it. You will have image for your virtual machine. So it's kind of a virtual hard drive for your machine. Let me open. I already downloaded the thing. Yes, you see, Ubuntu 2004. So it will be like a archive. It's not zip archive, but it's 7-zip archive. But doesn't matter. You can extract and get this PVI. So what I will do, I will not create virtual disk right now. I will use existing virtual disk file and I will select it. So to select it, I will press the add and will choose it. For example, it is downloads, virtual drives, and you see Ubuntu 2204. That's it. So size of it is 8 GB, but doesn't matter. And I select this drive. We have everything ready. I press create button. You see, create button. Yeah, I have my Ubuntu instance ready. Can you imagine how simple it is? And I will start my session. By the way, it will ask you for some credentials. So all credentials available on the right side, OS boxes and osboxes.org. Username is osboxes and root account password is osboxes.org. osboxes.org. So, but it's not all actually. Why? Because we have to set up connection between our computer and virtual machine. I will show you what's the problem we have. So excellent. Yes, we have Ubuntu. That's it. But if I want to copy, I know the password, so don't worry, it's written there. Root account password, osboxes.org. As a normal user, I will just copy paste it. Copy. And where is my virtual machine? Yes. Paste. But you see, I cannot paste. Why? Because we don't set up, we didn't set up connection between my guest operation system, it's this Oracle, it's this Ubuntu instance, and my host operation system, my computer. That's why I have to type it manually. OS boxes. Let me show. OS boxes.org. Yes. OS boxes.org. Let's wait a bit. My voice can start to crack a bit because yes. So that's it. We have ready Ubuntu. You can use it. You can do everything you want. You can start your nmapping or whatever. So, which command do you know in Linux, by the way? For example,
mkdir.
Mkdir. Mkdir, for example, hello. Yeah? Hello. And it will create, yes. Where is it? Yes, hello. Yeah. It's normal Linux. You will have it easy. But we have to set up connection, of course. To do this, it's very easy. Devices, optical devices. Not optical devices. Insert guest addition CD image. This one. I click on it. Let's wait for a bit. That's it. We have some disk that was attached to this Ubuntu. Let's open it. Just let's open it. And normally, as I understood, it should work like this. You have to press this run software, and everything should be done. Yes. But unfortunately, we are on Linux, and we have to do everything by ourselves. So what I did, I'll show again. Right mouse, or we can do it like this. No, unfortunately, there is no button, pressure button. Okay, right mouse click, open in terminal. We have terminal session, and you see this file autorun.sh. I will execute this file. Just auto. You can use tab, by the way. You see, I type ./au, and when I press tab, you see it's auto completion, like in your VS Code or Visual Studio or PyCharm, whatever you used before. And I press enter. You see, I was asked for password. Again, I will use my osboxes.org. Authenticate. Do you wish to continue? Yes, I wish to continue. So there is some installation of additional modules. Let's wait for a bit. You see, I gave only 2 gigabytes of RAM, but it's still working. So that's it. You can restart. You have to actually restart your computer. Do you know which command we can use for restart?
Like I just do sudo power off and then restart.
Debian user, yes. Debian users have to do this, but in
yes.
But in Ubuntu, we have alias for this command, and we can just type reboot. Yes, it will work. But okay, we have lightweight session for today. That's why I will do it in graphic user mode. So I will press on this thing, then power off, and then there is a good button called restart. And I will press restart. Yes, restart. Let's wait for 5 or not 5 minutes, it's too long. 3 minutes, I guess. And yes, while it's restarting, we have to open our device tab again, and you see there is an option called shared clipboard. So we have to enable it, so make it bidirectional. And the same I will do with drag and drop. I will enable, make it bidirectional. Let's wait for several minutes. So remember this shared clipboard and drag and drop. By the way, if you are using VMware Workstation or VMware Player, it's called like this, you don't have to do this, because if I'm not mistaken, we're enabled by default. So all these things related to the clipboard, so on, so on, so on. Okay, waiting. By the way, do you have any questions related to the installation process? Shall I show you anything again? Okay. Yes. And for now it should work. Sometimes we have to reboot again. But anyway, OS boxes, and maybe it will work inside. Okay, OS boxes. Work. Sometimes it can work only inside. Okay, don't worry. Even sometimes we have to reboot again after enabling these things. Okay. So if you are not if resolution of screen is not enough for you, you can change it. For example, the display settings, right mouse button, display settings, like in Windows actually, and so on. This resolution, for example, we can have, for example, I don't want to have full screen right now. Let me have like this sketches. So actually, for now it should work. Let me open some text editor. You see, text editor. Yes, you see. Now I can paste things. Even scalability should also work. So if I do like this, yes, you see, resolution automatically changed. So we enabled all these things and so on. I can drag and drop some files. So yes, that's it. For example, that's it. For example, for example, I can drag and drop to the thing. Okay. That's it for simple way of installation. It's one of the simplest way how to get your virtual machine with Linux. I think that for today we can finish, yes, because you, as I understood, you got a lot of information today, so maybe your brain a bit blowing, or I don't know what's going on with your brain right now, but it is Linux. The same. You can do with Kali actually. So if you want Kali, even there is no need for this side. If you want to get Kali, I shut down my machine because it a lot of resources. So I can do the same with Kali. Even if I want to install Kali, so I open Kali website, official website, download. We don't need these OS boxes at all. We have virtual machines there, and you can select your virtual machine. Yeah, you can download and so on. If you want to do it in bare metal mode, or if you want to practice installation manually with your virtual machine, you can download official image of Ubuntu like this. So Ubuntu official website. There should be downloads. And you see there are a lot of Ubuntu's available. So Ubuntu desktop, Ubuntu server, Ubuntu for IoT, Ubuntu cloud. So we need this one, Ubuntu desktop. I press on it, and as you can see, you have this download page. You can download. You can see the requirements. So you have to have 4 GB of memory.